So what I want us to work on is obviously I can respect with what you're working with right now because as a residential agent, we are commonly used to the idea that there is somebody on the other side with an opportunity, right?
Right. Right.
And we represent the buyer side, right? That just feels normal to us. However, in the commercial world, that is a huge hindrance to growth. Okay.
Okay.
Because I'll give you an example. I was literally just sent a deal with a guy that we'd love to try to do some business with. Okay, he's a wholesaler, good guy. I want to do like nothing wrong with him, good guy. However,
Right.
he's bringing me a deal right now where in an area that a little bit out of where I would normally be buying something personally and or have some clients for. It's like a secondary market in the middle of some random state. Okay,
Yeah.
and he's trying to wholesale it to me. Okay. And he's trying to make $150,000 on a deal where 150 grand is a very large percentage of the deal. It's not that big of a deal. So the problem
Right.
is that what's happening here is that this deal might get done at substantially less than what he's trying to sell it to me for, but he doesn't like it. Like what ends up happening is that if I found that deal directly, we would have done this deal already. It creates these instances of where if you were to direct a seller, you'd be able to sell the deal. But because there's so many people involved with a fee plus a fee plus a fee plus a fee, it
Yep.
makes it very hard sometimes to do the business, right?
Correct. Yep.
So, and think about most of the time in the commercial world, okay? Think about it. If you had a really, really good deal, okay? Something that like all day long, you could sell it. I don't care if we're just talking about a five family as an instance in your local market for 300 grand, okay? Like a very good deal. You're like, oh, yeah, no problem. Would you
Yep.
need somebody else?
No.
No, you
No.
wouldn't. Exactly. Right. Like I agree. You wouldn't need another agent, another wholesaler, or anybody else other than just your buyers list because you would just go straight to your buyers list. Right.
Right. Yep.
So what's happening is that these guys, by the time it gets to you, imagine how many freaking people have reviewed this deal and said it's not for me.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing it from this fresh perspective and trying to be optimistic about it, right? And then trying to sell it to your people. But the point is that it's been already reviewed by probably a number of people, at least a half a dozen, multiple dozens of people who
Mhm.
already would be probably more qualified than you at this current time to try to support and taking down the deal. Okay.
Yep.
So it's even when it comes to me, like when some wholesaler brings me a deal, I'm like, I know I'm not the first person to bring in this to.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, if it's coming to me, it's probably been reviewed over and over again to the point where I'm probably not going to be the best suited individual to take it down anymore. So unless
Yep.
something changes where like the numbers completely change or something like that. Right. So the reason why and what I want us to work on together is that I want you to be the one who controls the inventory.
Yep.
So I'm not saying it doesn't it's an and to have people send you deals. Like I probably get sent over 1,000 deals a year, but I want to be very clear the amount of times that I've closed on a deal that I've been sent versus deals that we've generated internally is like 99% internal and 1% external.
It's starting to make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to be very clear that the more you like obviously I love the goals and the vision of what you want to create of a national business like that. And if you rely on others to create the business, similar to even like when I've had some people say like, hey, I want to have a VA make calls for me. It's like, you want to rely on somebody you want to pay $3 an hour to make phone calls to very sophisticated multimillionaires who want to sell their commercial property. You want to rely on a $3 an hour person to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It doesn't compute. That's why it's like in these instances, I would say, hey, whatever you can do to make the main priority, which we can talk about in at length, but we want to focus on the activities that make you the focus of generating your own off-market book, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a plus when you get other stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Okay?
For sure. For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then, which by the way, you could use, I don't care if it's Reonomy, right? Which is probably one of the better softwares. Okay.
Yep.
About $400 a month. You export 1,000 or so, 1,000. I don't know if it's 2,000 these days or something like that. I think it's like four or five, I don't know, $400 or $500. They keep changing the prices. They're always changing. But anyways, you get 1,000 or so exports a month and you could target. And by the way, I would probably target your backyard and
Yeah.
then geographically go out versus starting somewhere random in the country.
Okay. Okay.
All right. I'd probably say let's take year one to like this year to build your
Mhm.
foundation of your local market, which I would just say Michigan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And say, let's take this year to really get good at just the process. And then as things come your way and opportunities start growing, your experience starts growing, then you can start going outwards.
Yeah.
I would say let's start there and let this be a foundational year where like let's set you up for success for 5 or 10 years from now to be that powerful national broker, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then improving your skill sets in other commercial classes. So like you're obviously we talk about multifamily. That's your
Mhm.
main niche right now.
Yeah, I would say so. I just got a Burger King under contract in Ohio, which I have a
Nice.
buyer down in Florida that's looking for QSR locations all over the United States. So I've been diving a little bit more into that, which has been fun, but it's a whole different niche. It's a whole different, ball game. So yeah, I
So
think, watching you, you seem to be have a knowledge in all classes. To me, my focus has been on multifamily, but I'm open to learning more and learning different niches within the commercial space.
yeah, so what's happened for me is that actually I started in multifamily and I did a number and dozens of multifamily deals before I ever did anything else. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
Did a few lease deals here and there, but then I started getting introduced to new deals as those were presented to me, and then we would close on them, and I learned that process, and then I would do
Yeah.
another one and another one and another one, and I just kind of started getting more experience across the board with different asset classes. So, like for someone like yourself, when it comes to prospecting, I
Yeah.
always just say prospect for a purpose, prospect for specific buyers that are looking for product, right?
Mhm.
So if hypothetically you have a bunch of multifamily guys, you should be prospecting for multifamily because the likelihood of you selling it when you generate it is high. Because
Right.
what happens is you go, hey, I want to start doing industrial, but you have no industrial buyers. You then have to go generate the opportunity, get the opportunity, then go back out and prospect for buyers to try to sell it and not know if you even can sell it. When you have a
Right.
big book of multifamily guys, right? Again, where I started, where I knew I had this one guy who I sold dozens of deals to. Okay.
Mhm.
And he wanted one town. And I must have sold this, I sold the guy dozens of properties in one town. And I just called that entire town over and over and over and over and over again. I just kept selling. Every time there was a deal, I went to him because I just knew if I found something in this buy box, I could just bring it to this guy. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I just wanted like, hey, like instead of just prospecting for the terms of prospecting, I want to prospect for a purpose, prospect for a specific buyer on my list. I'm saying, hey, I'm calling for John. John wants multifamily in this town. He wants 5 to 20 units. He wants it at a 7 cap. I know that if I find that criteria in this town, 7 cap, not falling apart, John's going to buy it.
Yeah.
Right. So that because again, we want to do the things that have the highest likelihood of transacting versus things that are low level of transacting. Right. Like, so as an example, right now, if I called, or let's say let's say we're working together, right, and we
Yeah.
called, let's just say crappy office condos in the middle of XYZ area, the odds of us selling it are very low,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we just want to reverse it. What would be the highest likelihood of us prospecting? Like, what would that be to transact at a high level? Like, what would give us the highest likelihood? What do you think that would be for you?
Multifamily.
Okay, great. In what area?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'd like to say Michigan, but God, I've been looking a ton. I mean, I feel like I look in Texas more than any other state,
But I'm saying buyers wise, your buyers that are
Yeah,
active today, that are specific. Look, if it's Texas, that's fine. But
yeah.
all I want you to know is that, like, hey, like, if they say to you, hey, like, they're saying, what are they specifically saying to criteria wise? I'm very
Yeah,
curious.
so my New York guys, they landlord friendly states, but as far as specifics, they got two guys that really want to either be in Dallas or Houston.
Do they
Um,
own a ton of stuff in that market already?
Yeah, they have some offices there already, so they spend some time in Texas, they spend some time in New York. So the two big hitters of that group want bigger multifamily in Texas, specifically Dallas and Houston. So
So how many units is bigger?
I mean, we've looked at 400, 500, 700. They
Yeah,
got upwards of $50 million to spend. So
love it. So what I wanted to be very clear. Okay,
Mhm.
when you're dealing with the big boys and trying to
Yeah,
sell large deals, okay,
yep,
they will review 1,000 deals for one acquisition.
sure,
When
yep,
you're dealing with smaller players, okay, your local guys in downtown Michigan, like wherever, right? I want to be very clear. Like they will look at something like 20 to 30 deals for one purchase. Keep in mind that like, when you have these types of deals, it's also like getting these people on the phone is a lot more complicated.
yeah,
Like these multi-hundred unit deals that are going to actually transact, right?
yep,
So I believe in whale hunting, but it's not the full-time gig. Because
sure,
if you and I were just like hunter gatherers and all we were trying to hunt for were whales, we would starve,
right,
right?
right,
So it's like that is one day a week of business. Every Friday or every Tuesday or whatever you choose. I don't care what it is. One day a week, you go whale hunting.
yeah,
Okay. And that's prospecting time for specifically larger product. And when you close one, go do 2 days a week. That's fine. But for
yeah,
you to spend 5 days a week whale hunting, you're going to starve.
sure, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I
No,
would
it
say
makes
like
sense. Yeah.
I like to say, let's focus on the burn and churn all day, every day type of product.
Hmm.
And then one day, like that's 4 days a week. And then one day, I don't, by the way, that's resi for most people, like maybe yourself and many others, right?
Yeah.
And or smaller multis to start. You do that 3 days a week. One day a week is for triple net deal QSRs, and one day a week is for your larger multi guys. Fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's sticking to that till you close a deal.
And
And then
that's
it
why I'm
changes.
here. That's why I'm here. I want to get
Yeah.
it. I want to get a big deal closed, you know?
100%. Like, look, like I love the idea, right? But it's like I want you to
Mhm.
realize that, like we just made we just wrote up an offer for 145 million dollars, actually in a complex right near me here in Florida, and
Nice.
it's like that type of sale, right? Like, first off, like even though it's a very nice price point, obviously the commission percentages we might make a quarter of or a half a percent on it, right?
Sure. Yep.
And which I'm obviously saying, like, clearly on the price point, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yep.
you
Yep.
can still make, you can burn and churn 50K commission checks monthly right now. And then maybe
Hmm.
one time a year, you might get a nice sale like that. Right.
Sure. Yep.
So this
Yep.
is what I try to teach my sale guys. When I'm like, listen, guys, like, look, I want you to focus on burn and churn product where you can do this monthly, where you're like, hey, you can do one or two or three closings a month on
Hmm.
stuff between 500K and 3 million, like all day long.
Right.
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 And you could burn and churn, do 20, 30 transactions a year and make 50K at a clip. So it's
Yep.
like, let's just focus on that. And then, like, sure, every once in a blue moon, once, maybe once a year if you're lucky, and once every few years, more likely, you're going to sell $100 million deal and you're going to get a
Hmm.
check for $1 million. But that's just
Hmm.
not, if you just focus on that, you're never going to make any money and you're going to be homeless, you know?
No, it's a
So,
good perspective. Yeah. I mean, the good thing too, obviously, if I have been able to take some of these shots and these chances at the commercial side, because my residential side is, I'm good and I'm making an okay living enough to pay my bills and
exactly what I did too. Same
take
thing.
these shots. But yeah, I mean, the good thing, Henry, is I have different buyers I have a lot of buyers looking for those 30, 40, 50, 60 unit type multifamilies.
Right.
So I'm always looking for the mid levels, and then I got my New York guys that are looking for the bigger stuff too. So it's just trying to get that mix of inventory coming in. But yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm completely, okay with, hitting those singles or doubles all day
I just want
long.
you to think about it. You're going to
Yeah.
hit, if you had, if you knew that every 5 years you're going to hit a grand slam and you have the ability to do a single every week, okay, a double once a quarter, right, a triple once a year, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and a home run every maybe 2 years, right? It's like, focus on the fucking singles for now, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's start here. Let's get really good at this. Let's put a
Yeah.
ton of money in your bank account, and then
Yeah.
as time goes on, you can make your adjustments however you choose. And it was just, and then so just to kind of put a nail in this one. The last thing is just like for multiple different asset classes, stick with multis for now. And
Yep.
I like the triple net deals because they're kind of simplistic, right?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
most part, they're pretty much one single tenant, one lease. It's not overly complicated.
Yeah. I'm learning that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So like a triple net's a fairly simple one you could also do alongside multifamily and not get too complex.
Hmm.
Once you close a few more deals and you start getting a couple buyers who randomly start knocking on your door or friends or referrals or anything of any other asset classes, we can do a
Yeah.
deeper dive on that at that time, right?
Okay. No, it sounds good.
But
And just to let you know, the QSR guy was actually a multifamily guy I met, year and a half ago. And
but
he ended up, we stayed in contact and I followed up here and there, even though we hadn't done any business. But he called me up earlier this year and he said, hey, we're team's kind of shifting gears. Here's what we're looking for. But that's kind of how it happened. I wasn't
love it.
like
And by the
aggressively,
way, that's how it's going to
yeah.
happen for every other asset class.
And I figured so. So that's why I was
Yeah,
like, this opportunity presented itself. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but I'm gonna go find you something. So,
100%. Yeah.
that's where we're at. But yeah.
So the next question here you have here is learning more of the specific real estate laws in each particular state you're working in. I would just keep in mind with commercial, it's a lot
Yeah.
about attorneys. You don't like it's not for the most part, the transaction's done pretty similar across the country. The attorneys are going to be handling a lot of the nuance that you really don't need to know the little nuance stuff, right? Because there's an endless amount of law that you could read and probably never finish throughout your lifetime, right? If you
Right.
were going to do all 50 states, I like to just say like, hey, my intention as a broker is to find you a great opportunity, to negotiate you a great deal, and then me support you in the process to closing. But I don't need
Mhm.
to know the law in that state. That's not my
Yeah.
intention, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to rely, even as a licensed agent in New Jersey, I'm relying on my attorney to support and protect my client. It's like I'm here to help you coordinate inspections if you need it. And that's not even me anymore. It's my team, right? Like it's like,
Right.
but it's like you don't need to know the law specific in that state. That's not, I would not say like that's going to be a game changing aspect of your business.
Yeah, no, makes sense. I just didn't want, as I knew I was getting into more states, I just, you always think like you don't want to be, getting in trouble or saying the wrong things or
The
doing the
only
wrong.
thing I would tell you, and like obviously, like, look, I'm not a broker, so I can't speak on this type of stuff, right? Or
Yeah.
a managing broker, is that with your license, when it comes to your licensing, you just have to be careful with how you're going to get paid on the deal out of state. So like EXP makes it pretty easy, but I know other companies are a lot more strict. So be very, very careful. So like that's the only reason why, like sometimes with other companies, I want you to be a little bit hesitant before you just jump in to start trying to sell nationally,
Yeah.
because some companies are actually hyper against you doing it. Just be very careful because, like as an example, I know some people have tried to do that out of state with companies similar to your company,
Yeah.
and the brokerage makes you refer the deal and pay a hefty referral fee out to that broker to handle the deal for you.
Yeah.
Where, like EXP commercial, I could broker it in any state and I can run it through that managing broker and they could just get it's for free. Like there's no cost of doing it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I end up
Yeah.
co-brokering it with my designated broker in any of those states, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
makes sense.
just definitely something to consider when you're looking to start doing it more nationally, which is honestly why I was trying to say just focus on your backyard for now because it's just kind of easier, right? Like
Yeah.
not as much nuance.
Yeah. Well, especially getting more direct with the owners and the sellers.
And the last thing you had here, which was become one of the top commercial realtors in the state of Michigan when it comes to off-market multifamily. What you're doing actually, which is amazing, is that in this statement, you're literally saying the key to it, which is finding the most and best quality off-market deals. So if you have that capability, you will then become the number one guy in your market, like I was in New Jersey. So
Yep.
it's like, you need to make it the biggest priority right now is to just prospect your absolute ass off, network your ass off in your market, right? Like in as
Mhm.
much as you can statewide at all costs. You need to think about it as like, hey, I have nothing on my board right now for my personal book of off-market deals, and this
Mhm.
needs to be 100 properties in the next 90 days. So it's
Yep.
like that's all that matters. And I'm not saying they even need to be wonderful. I mean, obviously, the better quality the deal, the better, and the higher likelihood you're going to sell them. But the point is, put stuff on the board because you
Absolutely.
become the go-to guy when you send them every week a new email of new off-market stuff, and it's constantly new and engaging, and some of them are great deals and some are decent deals, but they keep getting new stuff from you. Like this guy's got a lot of stuff. Like I need to know this guy in this market,
Sure.
right? And
Yep.
then eventually you do that for several years, you become the go-to guy.
No, I like it. And there's plenty, I mean, there's plenty to choose from here in Michigan, that's for sure,
Yeah.
just in the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah,
And
there's not a lack of inventory in Michigan.
no, 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 there's plenty to eat. So yeah.
Love it.
No, that's good. Yeah. And I kind of figured so obviously the getting the direct to seller outside of the state of Michigan could be a little trickier, but we can kind of cross that bridge when it comes.
Sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And then you said your goal this year is to close your first multifamily deal over 100 units or over 5 million bucks. Been very close. Goal specifically for 2026 is to close $25 million in commercial alone. Love it. What do you feel like you need answered right now that you feel like you've been questioning or like, you're wondering as of this very moment that you feel like you can get over a hurdle if you can get it answered?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably learn this throughout the coaching and the training, but really kind of dialing in, being able to get get larger lists that I can prospect. I've looked into Mojo. I've thought about it over the years, even for residential. I haven't purchased it yet, but probably getting a dialer would be important.
Yeah, so the Reonomy Mojo blend is
Yes,
very
yeah.
powerful.
Is it
Okay.
okay? Okay.
Yeah. So, because what you can do easily, right? Because what's going to happen is this: if you got Reonomy, a couple hundred, right, 400 or 500 bucks a month, you're going to be able to export at least 1,000 exports. Might be two these days. I don't know. But what'll happen is you're going to be able to export a few thousand a month, right? 1,000 or 2,000 a month. You're then
Yeah.
going to be able to put it into your dialer, and then within a week, you're going to be able to dial every one of those numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And the reason why it's a positive, right? So you do, let's say 200 calls a day, which is really nothing. I mean, it might be an hour and a half or 2 hours on the dialer. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It goes very quickly. especially because they have a triple line ability. But what'll happen now is like, okay, now you have 100, let's say 1,000 records in Mojo. That week, every day, you're not going to speak to 1,000 people a day, right?
Right.
Like you call a list of 200, you're not going to speak to 200 people. You're going to speak to maybe at most 10%, maybe 15% if you're lucky, right?
Sure. Yep.
So what'll happen is that every person you speak to, you're going to remove them from Mojo. So you copy all the information over. Let's say you spoke to Larry at 123 Main Street. Okay, he owns a
Hmm.
multifamily property. He's a good lead. He's open to the idea of selling. I'm not saying it's for a great price, but the point is he's open to the idea of selling. Okay,
Okay.
you take
Yep.
all of Larry's contact information out of Mojo, right? You copy it, put it into your CRM system. Then and you've paused the dialer, right? Once that's all done, you're set with your CRM. You're then going to delete Larry's info in the CRM.
Okay. So you're not
Okay?
calling me
You
as a
don't
new.
call him, not through cold calling, right? Through your
Right.
customer, because
Exactly.
now he'll be a follow up. It's a
Yep.
separate
Yep.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So now what's cool though is that while you're dialing this 1,000 person list, you're deleting every person you speak to. Now you're dwindling down this list from
Mm.
900 to 980, 950, 925, whatever, and it's slowly getting smaller, right?
Okay.
So that you can repeat the list.
Right. And you're yes.
You're
Yeah. And
not
you're
calling the same
eliminated.
people anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So
That
even
makes
if
sense.
so, whether anybody who answers the phone gets deleted out of my list. Period.
Okay.
If it's the
Okay.
correct number, they're deleted because they're put into my CRM. If it's the wrong number, I delete them because I never want to talk to them again, anyways. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sifting and cleaning my list as I prospect. And
Okay.
now I can call again the same list that I pulled one time. I can call endlessly because every number that answers, I'm either dropping a voicemail, deleting it for it because it's bad, or deleting it because it was good and I put it in the CRM.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
continue to do that over and over and over again. Now, 12 months down the road, now you have 12,000 properties in your Mojo account, right? We have millions in ours, right? So now
Right.
it's like you're going to have 12,000 properties, even if you just did 1,000 a month, and you continue that cycle of continually sifting through and cleaning your list over and over and over again. And I would just tell you, like that process done repeatedly for the next 5 years will put you in the best situation to be the top broker in your country or in your state.
Yep. I like it.